Okay, so now that we have actually cleaned the file and we have converted the format, so it's clean.hccap. You can name it any way you like. It doesn't need to be called clean. You can call it however you choose and please. So let me go ahead and show you something here. Let's just use a. I will explain what all of this means. But let me just go ahead and use it first, and then show you the output of the HashCat so that you understand certain things here. So first of all, it gives a device listing. Okay, it recognized both of my GPUs, which is great because it's using both of them. Fantastic, right? But it doesn't give a live output to the screen. You manually have to request for the output, and it has here status, pause, resume, bypass, checkpoint, quit. So I'm just going to go ahead and press S, and as soon as I press S, it gives me the output down below. Okay, so you have a session name, you have the status, it's running, you have the mask that's being used. I will explain masks. And you have the target, hash type, the starting point, the starting time, and the estimated time to completion. And then you have the speed, and this is what I really wanted to show you. So I don't have 3 devices, I actually have 2 devices. It says device 1 and then device 2. And it says that the device 1 is 86,244 hashes per a second. Okay, but the second device, this is immediately, ridiculously more than the CPU. And then it says the speed of the second device is 101.9 kh/s. What is a kh/s? Well, basically you multiply this by 8,000. Let me show you a diagram. So, kh is 1,000 hashes per a second. So 1 kh/s is 1,000 hashes per a second. mh is basically a million hashes per second, and so on and so forth. So you see, immediately we went from 10,000 keys per second to basically going to 188,000 keys per a second. Do you see the difference? I mean, it's enormous. And that was my phone ringing in the background. The difference is enormous. I mean, it's hilarious. Just how we went from 10,000 to 188,000. So this just gives you this individual speed on the devices, and this gives you the total speed here. And it gives you the progress listing, so what percentage is done, how many has it finished, and how many more it needs to complete. And it gives you the temperature as well. So if I print status again, just keep pressing S for continuous updates, and you will see these numbers might vary and change depending on what is going on. And if you just keep pressing S, it will keep telling you. So the utility is working rather well. It's 98%, which is something that we're aiming for. The megahertz per the core and the memory, the frequency per core and the frequency of the memory. And if I just keep pressing on S, it's just going to keep updating the status board. So it's completing this particular mask rather fast. But I'm gonna go ahead and press quit because you need to take a look at this command and understand what it actually is. So first off, actually, you know what? Let's type in HashCat --help. So learn to use help, seriously. And the reason why I'm using it here is because I have a wonderful way of demonstrating things to you. So first of all, this here is -m. It specifies that we will be cracking the VPA2 password. The mark for that is 2,500. Okay, so let's go above. Should be around here somewhere. I mean, there's a lot of options here, but there we go. It should be somewhere in this listing. The listing is quite large, and I don't know if I can find it now, but it doesn't really matter. Actually, you know what? Let me use a really stupid trick here and type in hashcat dash dash help grep 2500. And as you can see, it says 2500 VPA2 network protocols. Okay, so this dash M 2500 stands for VPA2 protocols. You have a ton load of other things which you can attempt to crack. I mean, anywhere ranging from operating system passwords to router passwords to general hashes to SHA-520 crypt. Actually, SHA-256 is used a lot. NT-element, NT-LM, I think this is for Windows. For the SQL databases, you can do a lot of things here, my friends. A lot of things. Okay, so the dash A is the method of attack that we will be using. So method of attack is number 3, which is the brute force. Let's go up. So mode, it's basically 0 for straight, combination, brute force, hybrid mask. But no, we're selecting a brute force. And the brute force attack here is not what it basically seems to be. Because the brute force attack is basically when you give the masks. So you can give one mask, or you can use a file with listed masks in them. You can find these files there where you've actually extracted HashCat. So you can make your own files with masks. So masks, and there you go. You have these masks. Let me just show you how they actually look like. And there you go. So these are the predefined masks with the characters that will be inserted. These are placeholders for certain sets of characters. Let me go ahead and show you. Okay. Let me go ahead and show you those sets of characters. Again, we'll use the hashcat dash dash shell because here they are listed. So the L basically is lowercase letters, U is uppercase letters, D, that's numbers, S is special characters, and A actually represents all 3 of these, sorry. All 4 of them. And you have B for hexadecimal ranges. Okay, so that's something that you should be aware of. You need to know this. This is very important to you. Without it, you won't be able to actually perform these sort of attacks. Okay, so let's go ahead and... but even the fastest GPUs, even if you combined like 4 of them, you still wouldn't be able to crack certain passwords within any reasonable amount of time. Why? Well, because they are huge. They are massive. Those numbers are beyond reckoning. If you go up to 10, that's if you use like uppercase, lowercase letters, and if you go up to 10, ooh, that's a lot. But since we can create our own masks of characters, and you might say something like, well, Ermin, I don't know anything about the password. How can I create a mask for it if I don't know anything about a password? Well, there are some general assumptions that anybody can make in regard to the wireless passwords. I mean, really, anyone can make. The first assumption that you can make is that the password is not shorter than 8 characters, so there's no need to waste time with those that are shorter, with masks that are shorter than 8 characters. So that's the first thing that you need to figure out. The second thing that you need to figure out is that, that most of the passwords out there, I've seen a lot of them, and most of them, they start off either with a lowercase letter or with an uppercase letter, and there are a few letters, and then there are a few numbers. So most passwords are like that. I have rarely seen anybody use any sort of special characters in the wireless passwords. Now, me being me, I have a little bit of a different story, but generally, no. For example, what I've seen in the coffee shops that people generally use, the syntax for it is something like this, what people generally use in coffee shops. So of the shop, name of the shop. Now this first can either be uppercase or lowercase. It's usually the lowercase, and then they place in some sort of a date, like 2016 or something like that. So when you create the masks, you can create the masks which immediately start with letters. But you can also, I've also seen a lot of personal passwords, which people have shown me, and I've basically when I come to somebody's house, I connect to the wireless and they give you the password. Well, they follow pretty much the same syntax. It's usually some sort of a name and then some sort of a date. So it's usually the combination of those two, but in general, it's the combination letters plus numbers, and almost all the wireless passwords are like this. I have rarely seen anything else. Now, you also have it within you to, you can also figure out what is the default wireless password from your ISP provider, because they generally have those pre-built into your routers, so they give it to you on a piece of paper, so they don't have to bother with people who don't know how to set their own passwords. And if you can figure out what is that default wireless password, maybe it's not the same for everybody, but the logic in which it is generated is the same for everybody. For example, my wireless provider had a unique wireless password for each person to whom they issued a router. Okay, that's great. But the problem was that it was of minimal length, meaning 8 characters, and it was all capital letters. So it was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you had 8 capital letters. So all the people who didn't change their wireless passwords were stuck with 8 character capital letter password, which can be broken ridiculously fast. I'm pretty sure you could break this even with a CPU without bigger problems. Now, this was hilarious. And a lot of people don't know how to change the password, and they can't log into the routers to change them because the ISPs lock them. So you have to call your ISP and ask them to change your password in accordance with whatever you want, which is something that not that many people do. They just stick with the default one. But what I'm trying to tell you is that the general syntax for these passwords, and we'll see how we can turn that to our advantage by creating our own ruling list for the passwords. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the tutorial here, and we'll continue in the follow-up. Okay, so welcome back. Thus far, we have covered a good amount, but let's go a few steps further. And as always, I'm just gonna open up HashCat --help. Why? For help. I'm not a memorizing machine, and it's a little bit easier to explain like this. And let me just roll over to some of the commands that I have used before. Okay, so HashCat and then -m for the type of encryption, and then -a for the type of attack, and then we need the file. And now we're going to go ahead and specify a mask. So instead of a mask here, you can also specify basically the file containing a set of masks. So you can automate the process in such a way. And HashCat can also be fed information, but depends which program you're using to feed the information to HashCat. That's gonna affect your performance. The best possible option, in my opinion, is to have the HashCat perform all the operations that it needs to perform, and probably the slowest one is to actually read from a dictionary file. In my opinion, anyway, don't hold me to my word, because I'm pretty sure that your graphic card will be able to process information faster than it will be able to read them from your disk. So the best possible option, in my opinion, is to actually have a list or process one mask at a time. And personally, I don't like lists of masks because if you have a greater than 8 in terms of a length, you're going to want to, you won't be able to basically, if you have a combination of characters, uppercase, lowercase, numbers, etc., and if it's like, maybe not greater than 8, but let's say greater than 10, it's not going to finish in any reasonable amount of time. I mean, it's going to take like 2-3 months to finish. And if you go up to 16 or something like that, that's going to convert itself into decades. It all depends on how many graphic cards you have, how fast they are, and how well does it all work, and how lucky you are, basically. So, let's go ahead and specify our first mask that I would like to try out. So, we have created some sort of a set of our own assumptions, and the first assumption is that the mask will contain, the first letters that it will contain will be, the first characters that it will contain will be letters. So, let's go ahead and type in letters. Where is it? So the first mask will also start with the lowercase, so dash L, dash L, dash L. Okay, and the rest of the mask can be numbers, so let me just do this right. Oh wait, it's, of course I'm going to make an error there. Numbers are D. Let me just see if I got this right. And no, I didn't. Control C is the universal interrupt. Let me just count this one more time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so this should be the right mask. But if you just leave it like this, it's going to take an eternity of time. As you can see here, even with 191,000 combinations per a second, it's going to take 10 years. So if I could plug in another 3 graphic cards into my PC, that's another maybe 300,000 combinations added to this. Depending on which graphic cards. If you use the latest NVIDIA, I think the benchmarks for VPA2 hashes is 370,000 per a graphic card. So if you have like 5 of them, that's 5 times 370,000, which is a lot. So this is how many combinations there are, and let's actually do a simple calculation. Okay, so I can just nullify this and paste this number in, and then this is not, okay, I do have it. So divide it by, and we're going to say 5 times 370,000. Okay, I'm pretty sure that calculation is off. Me and my calculator skills are amazing. So let's just do it like this. Cancel everything and type in 5 times 370,000. That equals to 1.8 million. So let's leave it at that. And now 1.8 million. So let's go ahead and divide this number with 1.8 million. Okay, so divided by 1.85 and then 1, 2, 3 equals. So this is the amount of seconds that would be needed in order to complete this task. Okay, so let's divide this with the amount of seconds in an hour to get this in terms of hours to get a bit of a better perspective. Okay, so you would need 68,000 hours. That's a lot. Let's get the number of days. So 24 equals, so 2,800 days. And let's divide this further by, well, I actually wanted to divide it by 30, but here, let me just do this. 2850 divided by 30, which is the amount of days in a month. It would be 95 days. That's about 3 months. Actually, it would be 95 months if my God, I've lost myself in these calculations. But that's besides the point. I just got lost a little bit. But that's besides the point completely. What I'm trying to tell you here is that even though if you had that much power, if you know nothing about the password and if you don't help the HashCat out with the masks, with the proper masks, you're going to basically be stuck without being able to do this. I mean, this is going to work, and in 10 years, it's going to give you the proper combination, most likely a little bit before 10 years, depending on where the password is along the merry list. But years is not something that's realistic. Something that's semi-realistic is months. Something that's realistic and something that would be realistic are weeks. So, what we need to do is we need to make assumptions, blind guesses, and help out the HashCat out. So you can assume that the passwords of pretty much any wireless access point out there will contain letters first. So you can have one set for the ones that begin with an uppercase letter, and you can have one set that does not begin with an uppercase letter. And if you can also make assumptions that people will generally put like 1, 2, 3 here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep. The people will generally put numbers such as 1, 2, 3. And if you run that, you're gonna get a custom char set undefined. Okay, you cannot have a question mark here. And if I run that again, stats. So you see, the time becomes immediately far more realistic. It says in 2 days and 18 hours, I am going to complete. So what you're doing is you're doing guesswork between 8 and 16 characters, and you're creating masks in between 8 and 16 characters. So you're experimenting with letters and numbers, and you're just reducing and increasing the amount of letters and numbers, and that should finish in far less time than anything else, really. Because pure brute forcing without any sort of guesswork is not really a realistic option at all. So if I do stats, it's actually working, and this will finish in some reasonable amount of time, I guess. Just to show you how the output looks like when it does work, let me help the system out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Of course, a dictionary attack would work far better against this particular password, but in general, it doesn't work that well, as dictionaries are basically region-specific. If you're in the US, you're in luck, because there are a lot of dictionaries for the English-speaking areas. And if you type in all the numbers here, the amount of combinations is really small, and it only finished 36%. So there you go. It says something, and then the ESSIDs, and then it gives you the password. So this is what I was talking about, that chance factor, the luck factor. It only finished 36% of possible combinations, and it actually found the password, which is anything short of incredible. I was a little bit lucky and the way that the password is arranged. But as I said, you have a chance that you don't actually need to go through the whole brute forcing process. Actually, I don't think that you will ever go through the entire process to 100% unless you are extremely, I mean extremely unlucky. And let me give you examples of the masks. They are actually contained within the folder where you have downloaded HashCat, where you have extracted HashCat, sorry. And if you go cd masks ls, and then if I don't know, I'm gonna cat one of them out. Let's cat this one out. Why not? You see, they have a set of rule sets here for the passwords. So you can create your own rule set like this and then pass this file. You can just put this file instead of a mask here. Be sure to specify the path to the file, and then it's going to take one mask after another. Make sure that the masks fit within a certain rule range, that it needs to be 8 or greater than 8. And then you can say, okay, I would like you to try the mask, I don't know, try first 4 letters, then type in 1, 2, 3, and then state some numbers afterwards, and then try mask some letters 1, 2, 3, and have nothing afterwards, or something like that. And then you can have a download of custom maps where you yourself insert certain characters and try some guesswork, and that will give you realistic timings. It won't give you unrealistic timings like 10, 20 years or something like that. Actually, I don't think HashCat tells you if it's above 10 years. It just tells you that it's more than 10 years, and of course you're not going to proceed with it because it's more than 10 years. But you know, you might be lucky and you might get a proper combination in 2 days. You never know, right? So, with this, I'm gonna go ahead and bid you farewell, and I would strongly advise you to play around with HashCat to your heart's content, because it all really comes down to the masks with HashCat. You get a great speed boost, but you still need to help the system out to a certain extent. You go on the net, see the word lists for the dictionary attacks, and take a look at them a little bit. Take a look at what sort of passwords do people use, and based upon that, you can be constructing your masks. Anyway, bid you farewell, and hope to see you soon, actually, because we're going to be doing some cool stuff later on as well.